Okay, so this video could possibly save you a good bit of money by just following these few steps, and it'll also help you get your internet or cable TV services back up and running without swapping the box. It is a little bit lengthy. Stick with me to the end of the video. Of course, if you've seen any of my other videos, tutorials, they're normally straight to the point, so I'm gonna make this as short as possible, but there's a lot of detail. So we're gonna start by just telling you, do not return your cable box, okay, until you check these areas. If you have returned your cable box, you're experiencing the same thing like pixelation, or your box will work for a certain period of time and then it'll stop, and you got to call in and they'll send you a signal, it'll work and it'll stop again, or you just get an intermittent internet connection where it'll work sometimes and it cuts out. A lot of the times it's the line, and the main thing you want to look at is the connection to the line. So I'm going to show you all the areas where that connection may be at, but the main thing is making sure that the connection does not look like this. That's considered a bad connection. It needs to be flush. It needs to be flush against from the white part inside up to the metal part of the connector, and that will give you a better connection. An easy way to do that is basically just pushing the coax, pushing the coax as much as you can to try to even it out. Also, if the pin that carries the signal, if this is too long, this can also cause the same problems where you're having pixelation as well. So you may want to cut this back just a little bit, but be careful that you do cut it even and not too much to where it doesn't make a connection at all, or if it's crooked and to the point where it will still cause pixelation. Okay, so now that we've gone over what to look for, let's go over the areas where you could possibly have these issues and where to look at. So let's get started. We're going to focus from the outside by the tap, from the tap to the side of your house, from the side of your house to any splitters or amps, which may be on the side of your house or inside of your house, either behind a wall plate, a panel, in the basement, in the attic, in the master bedroom, in the living room, or even in the laundry room, where you could see a blank wall plate and it be behind that a bunch of coax and splitters. Now, it's not going to be in all of those places, of course, just one of those places, sometimes maybe even two of those places, depending on how your house or apartment, condo, or whatever, how it's set up. Also, depending on how many boxes you're trying to set up will determine how many lines you need to connect. Okay, so when starting outside, these here are your pedestals, which is where your tap is located. That's the signal coming from your service provider. Now, that tap can either be underground or aerial. Most of the stuff we'll talk about today will be coax, which is Charter, Spectrum, Comcast, not too much AT&T. But dealing with the pedestals on the outside, you really don't want to touch those at all. It's not something that you have to worry about as much as you would up to the side of your house and then on the inside of your house. If you think you're having problems on the outside of your house, I highly recommend you contact your service provider and have them come take a look at what's going on out there. Now, as far as what's on the side of your house, if you do have a lot of devices, you may have what is called an amp. I did another video called Video All Out, meaning that everything, all your services are out. Check that video out, and that will show you how to get everything up and running and what to look for. But in this video, we're solely just talking about the connection. So what you want to do is get a 7/16 wrench or some type of pliers if it's too tight for you to get it off, and unscrew the connection. Check and see if you're having a bad connection on some of those coax, and fix them like I explained earlier, just by pushing the coax further into the connector to make a more even connection. This will work for you. It may be temporary. You may still need to get someone out to change those out if you don't have the proper tools or you can attempt to change them out if you do have the proper tools. However, I do recommend that you just take a closer look at them and make sure that they are flush, because this could be the cause of your pixelation and also your intermittent connection, whether it's cable TV or if it's just internet, if you have internet only. Most likely, if you only have one device, you should not have an amp. And once again, pay close attention to that green light or a light on the amp. Make sure that it's on. Make sure that you do see a light. If you don't, check out the video called Video All Out, and I'll show you how to get everything up and running. It's probably just something that's unplugged. Now, whether you have just one line going inside or multiple, I want you to pay close attention to lines that are coupled, meaning that they're spliced, which you have a barrel that's connecting two coax, two connectors together, creating one line. Within that splice may be a bad connector or a bad barrel. You may have to either swap out the barrel or fix the connectors on that end as well. So pay close attention to any line leading all the way up to the device and see if there's any splices. If there's a bad splice, a bad barrel, and you do not have the proper things to change it, and of course you may want to call a service technician or get the proper things to replace that barrel. Now, of course, this doesn't matter if all your lines are going outside or inside in a panel. All rules still apply. You just want to make sure that all those connectors are tight, either tightened together by a barrel or tight on the splitter or amp, all the way up to the device. So these lines will follow all the way up to most likely a wall plate. And that wall plate will be a simple wall plate with a barrel on it. It'll most likely have two screws. You'll need a screwdriver, whether it's a flathead or a Phillips screwdriver. Just unscrew the wall plate, and then you'll see that on the other end there's a coax connected to the barrel. Okay, same thing you would see with a splice. That barrel just joins those two coax. Now, on this wall plate, you want to make sure that the barrel is good. How can you tell if a barrel is bad? Well, if it just looks old, or you can see all the way through it, there's been some remodeling, and whoever painted was too lazy to take the wall plate off and paint it over the barrel, and it's a ton of paint on it or on the inside, then most likely it's probably a bad barrel. It's just not holding a good connection from each side of the coax to carry the signal. So that could determine a bad barrel. I'd say change it out. Now, to get that coax off of the barrel, of course you want to use your trusty 7/16 wrench. Go ahead and take that off, and then from there you'll be able to see the barrel, how it looks, and then you also want to make sure the connectors are good. Of course, as you can see from this one, it's not. So after I repair this, I just connect it back to the barrel on the wall plate, put the wall plate back on the wall, and then from the wall plate it goes to the device. Now, since you have, of course, coax that is outside of the wall, a lot of times it can get damaged. So you want to make sure that the coax leading up to the device is not damaged, that it's not bent too bad or too much and to the point of breaking or interrupting the signal, crushed by furniture or chewed up by an animal, a dog or anything like that. Make sure that there's no staples or clamps on the coax that's so tight to the point it interrupts the signal. And just as a final note, once again, make sure each connector is tight on the wall plate and device. And that's pretty much it. If you're still experiencing issues after that, then most likely it is the device or it's something on the outside. But at least you've covered all the bases, just to make sure that you can continue to enjoy your services without having to go through the hassle of contacting the service provider and waiting for an appointment, missing work, or interrupting your day on something that you can easily fix yourself, which will also most likely save you money. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments, like, subscribe, and feel free to share to those you think that may need the help. Thanks for joining me.
Mama always said a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So, yes, we do accept tips, and it's completely optional. But if you'd like, you can cash app us any amount at $tips for tips, and it's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Big South Cable Guys.